Here we go.
At my signal, unleash hell. God bless the geek.
Rules? We don't think so.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Please make a note of it.
This is the show where you hear everything geek culture.
Have you noticed we've been sharing our culture with you all morning?
Talking movies, comics, video games, TV shows, all from a geek point of view.
People who get it, get it.
If it's geek, we'll speak about it here on the Geek Speak Show. Here are your hosts, Henry and Romo. That would be us. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show, episode number 2. Hey, Romo.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
None much. What were you doing?
Just before the show?
Yeah.
Just watching my favorite TV show, Misfits, out of the UK.
Okay.
It's good. It's superpowers. It's what we talk about. It's geeky. And I love it.
Oh, yeah. Hello. The Geek Speak Show. We speak about geek.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about? Another thing that's to give you a reminder. It's on our YouTube page. It's on our Facebook. It's on everything. It's on when you guys were watching the playoff games last week. Did you guys see the blimp? It even had it on there. We're looking for a Geek Girl co-host. Yeah, I saw it flash. You saw it too. Don't say you didn't. But we're looking for a Geek Girl co-host. All you've got to do, if you're a girl or if you know one and you're a geek, got to be a real one. Not like you said last week in the interview with Rachel. You said names, you weren't going to go there, but you mentioned names, so.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be a geek, it doesn't mean you got to wear geeky glasses.
As I used to say back in the 90s, don't fake the funk.
No.
We'll know. We'll smell the funk.
Yeah, we will.
Real Geek Girl, you got to know your stuff. You've heard the little commercial that we have on there. You can explain Inception. You really can. You can tell me, yeah, Han shot first. Everybody knows that, of course. You can tell me...
Yeah.
Who you like better, Walter, Walternate?
Yeah.
You can hold your own on anything we talk about on the show and speak to the people we talk to. Like today, loaded with guests, really good ones. I've teased them since last year, actually, since the last, our season finale. I teased him. Finally, he's here. No more teasing. I give it to you this time. That sounded dirty, but you know what I mean. Jamie Benning was here before. He talked about Star Wars Begin. He called it at the time Filmumentary.
Yeah.
He settled on the term, the Filmumentary. So I guess we can consider him the father of the Filmumentary now.
We can.
Very good. You guys also, he's got over 5 million views on the YouTube on the Star Wars Begins. He's got a 4-part.
It's a 4-parter.
Yeah, but not the whole thing. It's not complete yet. He sent me an email before we started the show and he said, I'm almost there. Give him about another 2 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. Because this one is turning out to be bigger than Star Wars Begins.
I mean, come on. It is Indiana Jones.
Yes. Raiders. Not that thing about skulls. I thought there was a movie about that. I heard about it. I heard a rumor that there was a movie about
never existed.
Skulls and Indian. Sam Wiki was
it never existed.
Yeah, didn't think so either. So, Jamie Benning will come on and talk about that. Before we do that, however, we're going to keep it here local, San Francisco Bay Area. Not the artist, the museum formerly known as Zeum. They went through a name change just like we did. We went from Geek Speak Radio to the Geek Speak Show.
Yeah.
They went from Zeum to
Children's
Creativity Museum.
Yeah.
I think. See, I'm not even used to the new name yet. The signage is all up there. The links are, I got to go to our own links section now. Their website is on there. Creativity.org if you want to go there directly. But it's only about 2-3 months old since they reopened with the rebranding. They have a new thing called the Innovation Lab.
Yeah.
And in layman's terms, it's kid testers, where they test upcoming games, apps for your iPads, for your mobile phones.
For kids, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Big kids too.
Oh, like me.
Yeah. So we'll talk to a couple of people who, one is somebody who is directly involved with the Innovation Lab, and also one of their partner companies that collaborate with them. They provide some of the apps to test. We'll talk to them in just a few minutes. Before we do that, let me ask you, remind you one more time. Yes, we are looking for a Geek Girl co-host. Got a couple of emails, some pretty good ones. We may have you on. I kind of made fun of it when you said it last week, but we may do it. We may have you on, do sort of, not like an American Idol kind of thing.
Just like a little tryout. I want to hear your voice.
Yeah, you can guest host with us. And maybe we'll get all of you out there involved. Now we sound like American Idol. You vote which Geek Girl you want. But that'll be in the future. Near future, because as I said, we want to keep them in place for WonderCon 2012. Passes are on sale as we speak, by the way. If you haven't gotten them yet, go get them. What's I talking about? Oh, but if you want to send your stuff, or you know a Geek Girl who would be perfect to come on here and talk with us and interview all these people, Geek Girl at thegeekspeakshow.com. Have them send either a link to their YouTube page or an MP3 that says, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is why I should be your Geek Girl co-host. So again, it's Geek Girl at thegeekspeakshow.com. Now, I was going to say, I see you're getting your lightsaber ready over there.
Oh, yeah, it's called an iPad.
What? No, that lightsaber, the plastic one, the real one.
Oh, yeah.
Why? For what? What are you doing?
Well, Damien got my iPad.
What? Yeah, and
I want to watch Misfits, and he just took off with it. So I'm going to go get him and beat him up and get my iPad back.
See, Romo uses his iPad like a girl uses her purse. He's got everything on there: his contacts, his phone numbers, his dinner list, his shopping list. He's got everything on there, including his pick for the book club. He's got one. He just can't remember what it is. Forgets what he picked till he looks in his iPad. So let's take a break. When we come back, hopefully he'll get his iPad. If not, I'll go ahead and do this interview with or without Romo. Stay right there.
The Geek Speak Show will be right back. The Geek Speak Show is conducting a search for the missing element. The Geek Girl's voice. Do you know the difference between Kim Kardashian and a Kardashian? Do you know that Han shot first? Can you explain Inception? Walter or Walternate? Grim or Fringe? Use these and other amazing facts in discussions with the boys, and especially with all the awesome guests on the Geek Speak Show.
All you've got to do is send an email to geekgirl at thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page, or send us an MP3 where you explain why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. It'd be great if you're here in the San Francisco Bay Area so we can have you in studio, but we can Skype it if you're not. So if you're a Geek Girl, or if you know one, and you're ready to show your knowledge to the world, send an email to geekgirl at thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page or an MP3 telling us why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. We hope to have our Geek Girl co-host in place by March, just in time for WonderCon 2012. We're back on the Geek Speak Show. Here's Henry and Romo. Well, Henry, at least, how you doing? Welcome back to the Geek Speak Show. Romo's looking, I think, for his book or something. He'll be in here in just a few seconds. So, welcome back to the Geek Speak Show. Like I said, we're going to talk now to something pretty cool here. We've had him on the show before here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Those of you who may remember the ZM Museum, you know that it underwent a name change, kind of like we did. We went from the Geek Speak Radio Show to the Geek Speak Show. They went from ZM to the Children's Creativity Museum. Only a couple months old, but one of their most popular features we're about to talk to about right now. On the line is Ben Grossman-Kahn. He's the Education and Innovation Manager at the Children's Creativity Museum. Ben, welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. So let's talk about the Innovation Labs. Tell us all about those.
Sure thing. So the Innovation Lab really came out of sort of the need finding and the design process that we teach here. It started with just one startup called Toontastic a couple years ago. And as Toontastic was being developed, they'd pop on over, and the developers would do user testing with kids at the museum. And so through that process, they sort of iterated and developed the app, which they launched on the market almost exactly a year ago. So around the same time, we started getting emails from other startups interested in doing the same thing. And so we started on a sort of a very rough level. We just set up a table on the floor of the museum, and local startup developers would come in and set up iPads and just test them out with visitors wandering the floor. And from that, we started to see a huge response, both from the visitors and the startup community. So we started to formalize the program a little bit, and one of our big breakthroughs came when Siftio connected with us this summer and started coming over once a week to do user testing and test out all of the new games that they were developing for their Cube kit. And so from that, we started to get visitors calling and asking about this program, asking if those Siftio guys were in here. And so from there, when we rebranded from ZM into the Children's Creativity Museum, we saw an opportunity to really sort of take that program to the next level. And so what we've done now is we've actually created an entire space on the second floor of the museum called the Innovation Lab. And every Saturday we bring in a couple different startups to come in and just test out their process and test out the games and apps with kids.
So basically what it sounds like is like what a lot of the video companies do here in the Bay Area is you have testers, right?
Exactly.
And who came up with the idea of, hey, let's do it here at the Children's Creativity Museum?
So, something that came to me, so my background was in the ed tech, in the learning and design community. So going through this process myself, developing apps, developing programs for kids, I saw that there's sort of a real need and a challenge in finding large groups of kids to test with. And so what typically ends up happening is these groups that are developing apps, you end up testing with your niece or your nephew or two kids who live down the block from you, and they tend to be sort of your only user testers, which means that your feedback throughout the process is coming from those same two kids.
Right.
So I feel like what the museum had was an opportunity to be a hub and to live in this ecosystem between the families and the kids who are consuming the apps and the companies that are producing them.
How do you choose? It sounds like you just work with a lot of the different companies around here, but how do you choose, or do you even choose which companies to collaborate with?
That's a great question. So the program started with just a lot of personal connections, so networks and companies that myself or other colleagues at the museum knew personally. We sort of sweet-talked them into coming in here and helping us build out the program. And what we've seen in about the last month and a half or so is we're now starting to get developers and groups who we haven't worked with and who we don't know cold calling us, hearing about what we're doing, and asking if they can participate as well.
Yeah, we're talking to Ben Grossman-Kahn, who's the Education and Innovation Manager at the Children's Creativity Museum here in San Francisco. You can check out all the links at our links section right where you're listening to the show right now. Just go up. See where it says links? Right there. It's all on there. Or if you want to go to directly, it's creativity.org, creativity.org. We're talking about one of their most popular new features at the Creativity Museum. That's the Innovation Lab. And Ben, how old, many people are who are maybe hearing about the first time, they're probably thinking, hey, I want to do it, or I want to have my kids or nieces or somebody do it. How old do the kids need to be testers?
That's a great question. It can be, we've really seen them of any age. We tried to bring in a pretty wide variety of companies. So we've had apps that are developed for preschoolers. So 3 and 4-year-olds are actually the age that they're looking to test with. And then we have companies that come in and their sweet spot is maybe kids a little bit older, maybe 6 to 12 years old. But it's a really 3 years old and up is sort of the sweet spot.
And the other obvious question is, how do you become a tester?
That's a great question. So we're working right now on formalizing the process. We're working on an application on our website. But for the moment, you just email us at education@creativity.org and just tell us a little bit about who you are, what your company does, and the ages that it's appropriate for. And we'll take it from there with usually an interview and a tour of the space.
Yeah, and there's a link to that on the creativity.org website, right?
There should be, yes.
Yeah, so again, it's up on our link section, or if you want to go to direct, like I said, it's creativity.org. Click on the Innovation Lab Workshop page, and it'll be all right there. So again, we're talking to Ben Grossman-Kahn, who's the Education and Innovation Manager at the Children's Creativity Museum here in San Francisco. Talking about the Innovation Lab, one of the most, it's only, how old is it, like 2-3 months old, Ben?
About that, yeah. Launched October 15th.
Yeah, but it's quickly becoming one of the most popular features in the Creativity Museum. We talked about how the testers need to be, who it is. Have any of the games or the apps that have been tested, have they gone on to be developed for the public?
They have, absolutely. I think actually the majority of apps that have participated so far are currently available on the App Store. So one of our longest-term partners, Toontastic, was just selected by New York Times as one of the best iPad apps of 2011, which was a huge win for them and really exciting for us as well. And then Motion Math, another one of our partners, was actually also featured on ABC News about a month ago because they've been doing some really interesting work researching the educational value of these apps.
And maybe not in the Innovation Lab, but there at the Creativity Museum, do you teach classes for kids so that they learn how to design their own apps or their own games?
We do, yes. So actually, at the end of this month, we are doing a workshop with a designer from IDEO, and it's going to be teaching kids the design and the entrepreneurship process. So it's a chance for them to come in and learn these skills, learn the tools that all of the designers who work with us are using. And then down the road, we've also talked with a lot of these developers about doing some hackathons for kids. So getting mentors from the startup community in and inviting kids in to learn the prototyping process and learn sort of the basics of game design. So that's definitely something to stay tuned for.
Yeah, and it already is one of the most popular things there, like I said, and it's probably going to get even more popular now that we have interviews like this. And I saw you guys on our local TV station here. Is there a set schedule, or how many kids can you have at one time?
Great question. So it's there's no reservations required, so it's just part of the general admission entry into the museum. The lab itself can probably hold about 25 to 30 folks at a time, and we'll typically have 2 to 3 different innovators in when we open up those workshops. So families are welcome to come, drop by. If the lab is a little bit crowded, you can check out some of the other exhibits and try back in a couple minutes.
Is the lab open on the weekends too?
It is, yes. So right now we've been bringing the innovators in on the weekends. So Saturdays from 12 to 2 is typically when you'll find those startup partners. And if you come into the lab outside of those hours, we have some programming ourselves that we run, teaching kids the design and the prototyping process.
Okay, and again, it's Ben Grossman, Con Education and Innovation Manager at the Children's Creativity Museum in San Francisco. Now, Ben, it's only, like I said, 2 months old, but in that short time, have you seen anything like let's say somebody brings in an app or a game? And I think, now that I think of it, I think I saw this on the TV interview that you guys did, where the designer had something in mind, but then the kids come up with something else completely while they're playing or testing with it.
Definitely, yeah. No, we see that all the time. I mean, kids are really the best bug finders. They'll come in and in about 5 minutes break the app, do a million things that the developer never imagined is possible. And so that's a story that we see repeated over and over again.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I mean, usually you don't want kids to break anything, but this time they actually do want them to break and find bugs.
Absolutely. And I think for the kids, I think it's really empowering because it's pulling back that curtain on the development process. So rather than just seeing the apps and sort of their fully polished and finished forms, kids see them in those rough stages when they do have those bugs. They do have things that need to be fixed. And I think it shows kids that design is a process. It's not something that magically appears out of the air, but it's a series of steps in the cycle you go through.
Right. And is there who are you partnering with now, or any companies that are coming up that you can tease?
Sure thing. So this month we've got some really exciting companies. We have Mind Snacks, which is a set of apps that teaches foreign languages to kids, and they're going to be back here on January 21st. And we also have Zip Kids, which is a website for kid entrepreneurs that gives you all the online tools you need to set up your own business and get it up and running. So we have those coming in. We have Toontastic coming in on January 21st. And then on January 28th, we are doing our IDEO design and prototyping workshop. And that's actually something that families need to sign up for. So if you're interested, they can hop on our website, check out the Innovation Lab links, and get the information on how to sign up for that workshop.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking to Andy Russell in just a few minutes as soon as we finish with Ben.
Fantastic.
Okay, so he is Ben Grossman Kahn, Education and Innovation Manager at the Children's Creativity Museum here in San Francisco. Check out all the links, all the information to the Innovation Lab, all the schedules, and if you want to sign up, that's where you do it also. Creativity.org if you want to go there directly. Otherwise, on our link section, it's all right there for you. So, Ben, thanks a lot for coming on and telling us all about the Innovation Lab.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
The Geek Speak Show will be right back.
The Geek Speak Show is conducting a search for the missing element. The Geek Girl's voice. Do you know the difference between Kim Kardashian and a Cardassian? Do you know that Han shot first? Can you explain Inception? Walter or Walternate? Grim or Fringe? Use these and other amazing facts in discussions with the boys and especially with all the awesome guests on the Geek Speak Show.
All you've got to do is send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page, or send us an MP3 where you explain why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. It'd be great if you're here in the San Francisco Bay Area so we can have you in studio, but we can Skype it if you're not. So if you're a Geek Girl, or if you know one, and you're ready to show your knowledge to the world, send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page or an MP3 telling us why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. We hope to have our Geek Girl co-host in place by March, just in time for WonderCon 2012.
Now back to the Geek Speak Show. Here are your hosts, Henry and Romo.
And we are back on the Geek Speak Show. What
How's
were
it
you two
going?
doing over there?
Damien took my iPad and I showed him something called this TV show called Misfits, and then he just ran off with it, and I had to go get it back.
Misfits? What Misfits? What's that?
We really want to get into that. We could talk about it later. It's a good TV show out of the UK.
All right, yeah, well, I guess that's a hint. We're going to do a TV talk later, I guess.
Yeah.
So we just finished talking to Ben from the Children's Creativity Museum. Still haven't gotten used to the new name yet.
Me neither.
But it's the museum formerly known as ZM. Now it's the Children's Creativity Museum.
A lot of fun, though. Yeah, it is. But a lot of fun.
We'll get used to the name soon. All the languages up there. But he mentioned that part of the testing that they do there is with a lot of different Bay Area companies. One of them is on the line with us, Andy Russell, co-founder of Launchpad Toys. Andy, welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having us on.
No problem. So tell us about Launchpad Toys.
Launchpad Toys is a small San Francisco-based startup. We're focusing on creating creativity tools for kids that enable them to design and illustrate and animate and create their own content through play. We like to think of it as digital toys on tablet and phone devices.
So these are apps for iPads and mobile phones?
Yeah, that's where we're starting, but our goal is to kind of branch out onto as many different touchscreens as come out over the next couple of years.
Or virtual, or whatever comes out later. And on your bio on the page, which again is linked up on our links page, it mentions that you work with Hasbro and with PlayStation. What did you bring from the experiences there? What did you bring from that to Launchpad?
Yeah, well, I started in the education space, developed educational software, and then went to work for Hasbro and then PlayStation to try to find a nice balance between this world of edutainment and toys and video games, and learned a lot through that. First is that play patterns are pretty immutable and have been the same from the dawn of time, and kids drawing on walls and creating things with clay and telling stories through their play forever. And it's really tough to do a lot of things that we want to do as educators through pieces of plastic, $9.99 on the shelf at Target. And so going to work in the video game industry, we try to take a lot of those ideas and turn those into video games. And then all of a sudden we have this wonderful opportunity of tablets and phones where these devices are not just gaming platforms, but can be tangible and can be mobile and can be hands-on in much the same way that toys always have been. So it's giving us an opportunity to bridge that gap between games and toys, between sort of defined play and open-ended play in a new and original fashion. So pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious, but what do you think unleashes a child's imagination the most?
Well, I think you gotta provide a little bit of a spark, a story starter, if you will. Toys are really good with that because they're characters or they're vehicles, and you can easily jump into a story as opposed to, say, like a blank sheet of paper, which is a little more challenging and imposing for kids. And then I think you gotta, in educational terms, scaffold it a little bit along the way. You've got to provide some guidance for the kids so that it's not so overwhelming. You just give them one step and then another step, and then finally, I think you got to give them a big megaphone. You got to give them a network or a platform where they can share their content. Kids love to create, but even more than creating, kids love to show off what they've actually built and made, and whether that's sharing an illustration on the family refrigerator, or whether that's performing in a play, or whether that's, in our case, uploading a cartoon to a network so other kids can watch it.
Yeah, and again, we're talking to Andy Russell, co-founder of Launchpad Toys.
Hey, Andy, it's Romo. I was curious, why did you decide to test with the Innovation Lab?
Well, actually, our first app, Toontastic, for the iPad, started as a prototype for a museum exhibit at the Children's Creativity Museum, known as Zeum at the time. And when we first launched it, when we first built it as a prototype, it was actually for a 42-inch touchscreen that we were building there. And then the iPad came out, and we decided that we wanted to take the software and release it publicly for the iPad for everyone. And since we've been doing that, we've actually been working with the Children's Creativity Museum, going over there every other week to test with kids and play the app and see what's working and what's not working. So we've had a nice long-term relationship with them, testing with a lot of their users, talking to a lot of their parents, and sharing a lot of our ideas with the staff over there at the museum who really knows this space so well.
That sounds good. It's interesting because I have an iPad and kids are just attracted to my iPad for some reason. But do you have any testers at Launchpad Toys?
Well, our team is really small. It's just a team of a couple of developers and artists here. But we work with the Children's Creativity Museum, which is just right down the street, and we go over there pretty regularly, and a couple of local schools here in the Bay Area. So, no, we don't keep anybody here on staff testing anything on a regular basis. We like to change it up as much as possible and get different kids using the apps.
That sounds good.
So that we can get different input. Yeah.
Yeah, can you tease us with some of your up and coming games or apps, if you can?
Well, our goal is to build what we're calling the Creative Suite for kids. So we started with animation. Toontastic is a storytelling enhancement tool, enables you to create your own cartoon. And then from there, we're gonna tackle the entire gamut of creative play. So if you think back on all the toys that you grew up with as kids, whether it be Legos or Lincoln Logs or Erector sets or fashion plates, think of all of those things with record buttons and with a connection to a big network, kids can share their content.
Okay, we're talking to Andy Russell, co-founder of Launchpad Toys. And Andy, a couple of years ago now, actually, we did an entire show covering video game addiction and how it's a serious topic and everything. You target, obviously, these apps for kids. Now, if anybody was to say that to you, aren't you going to make kids addicts, video game addicts? What would you say to something like that?
Well, I like to draw a line between games and toys. Games are experiences that are defined by the game developer. You start at point A and you end at point Z, and you get a couple of bonuses and points along the way, or some power-ups, if you will. But toys they're tools. They're just like a hammer or a saw or a paintbrush. They're catalysts for your imagination, and you can make your dolls or your puppets or your markers or whatever it is do whatever you want it to do. So I actually think that toys are wonderful tools for creativity and imagination, and there really aren't too many downsides of them. Now, traditionally, digital platforms like TVs and computers have been used for creating games, these defined experiences that are kind of extensions of old board games. But now with touchscreens and with mobile devices, we have this ability to create open-ended experiences. We like to call them digital play experiences because they're not plastic, but they share a whole lot more in common with your G.I. Joes and Barbies than they actually do your John Madden footballs or something like that.
Yeah, and I would say to that, moderation. That's why you're the parent. It's up to you to watch them. And having kids of my own, I agree with you with what you say right now, because they do have the Barbies, the G.I. Joes. They play with some of my old Star Wars toys, but they get tired of them really quick. And apps are like here when Romo lets them play with his iPad over here, or when they play video games or computer games, they actually, I can see their imagination firing up more than with just plain old plastic toys, like you said.
Well, these devices will do so much more than you can just working with traditional plastic. There are a lot of great things about action figures and dolls and puppets, but they have some limitations. You can't share as easily with as wide of an audience. You can't get as much guidance throughout it. And it's also really expensive to get an entire library of characters, from dragons to ninjas to pirates and so on and so forth. You got to rack up a whole lot of money. But with digital, we can actually release these huge libraries of different characters, and you can create and build your own so easily to build stories with and create content. So, as you said, moderation. There's a place for everything in a kid's life, and as long as it's well balanced and not overrunning homework time, then I think it's a positive for one.
Yeah. Plus, I've seen a lot of schools are switching to pad not iPads, but just pads. That's how they're doing homework now. I wish they had that when I was going to school.
Would have made times a lot easier. Timetables
would have made it a lot more fun to do the homework too. Yeah, so
would have been a lot easier to carry your backpack too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're talking to Andy Russell, co-founder of Launchpad Toys. You guys are here locally, right, Andy, in San Francisco?
Yeah, we're over just on the cusp of Soma and the Mission.
So, like you said, right by the museum
in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can find your kids, or the big kids also, I guess, they can test some of their upcoming games and apps there at the Innovation Lab. So, Andy, thanks a lot for coming on and talking to us a little bit about Launchpad. If you would want to come back and talk to us about anything else, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk with you guys.
Pleasure talking to you, and take care.
Bye.
The Geek Speak Show will be back in a moment.
The Geek Speak Show is conducting a search for the missing element. The Geek Girl's voice. Do you know the difference between Kim Kardashian and a Cardassian? Do you know that Han shot first? Can you explain Inception? Walter or Walternate? Grimm or Fringe? Use these and other amazing facts in discussions with the boys, and especially with all the awesome guests on the Geek Speak Show.
All you've got to do is send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page, or send us an MP3 where you explain why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. It'd be great if you're here in the San Francisco Bay Area so we can have you in studio, but we can Skype it if you're not. So if you're a Geek Girl, or if you know one, and you're ready to show your knowledge to the world, send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page or an MP3 telling us why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. We hope to have our Geek Girl co-host in place by March, just in time for WonderCon 2012.
In a perfect world, all the geeks get the girls.
We're back on the Geek Speak Show.
Please make a note of it.
And we are back on the Geek Speak Show. Hey, Romo.
What's going on? I am excited.
Yeah, you are. You like Back to the Future?
Oh, dude, that was
a lot
such
of
a
the
good
80s
trilogy.
movies. This one, especially, all of us really do love this next one. And I've been teasing it since last year, actually. Finally, we have him back. Jamie Benning, he's been on before, talked about The Star Wars Begins. Phenomenal.
Great
behind the scenes.
Yes.
He called it Fannymentary at the time, settled on Filmumentary now. I think it fits perfectly. So let's say hello again. Jamie, welcome back to the Geek Speak Show.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me back. How you all doing?
Yeah, doing good. Very good name that you settled on, Filmumentary. And I see on your website, which is linked up on ours, you call yourself, I guess we can refer to you now as the father of the Filmumentary.
Yeah, it was very difficult to kind of to pin down a word that would be, descriptive and new, and I kind of settled on that because it kind of fills the remit, really. You know, you watch the film and you're watching a documentary at the same time.
Yeah, and those of you who have not seen it, we have it linked up on 2 places. On our Facebook page, it's on there, and also we have it on our link section on your I guess your blog account is what it is.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's all on there. You can see, not completed quite yet, but it's 4 parts, I believe it is, right, Jamie?
That's right, yeah. I mean, they're kind of preliminary parts, really. I kind of released them online to generate a bit of buzz and a bit of interest, and as I was saying before we came on, to kind of get fellow fans to come forth with some material that they may have to offer, because it's become a really kind of collaborative effort, with people giving me contact details of people that have been involved in the film, and putting this stuff out there early kind of encourages that, so that's great.
Yeah, the last time we had you on, we were talking about Star Wars, and you mentioned towards the end of the interview, you teased that you were thinking of doing Jaws. What moved you towards doing Raiders instead?
Well, I know more about Raiders than I do about Jaws. I know Jaws very well as a film, but I knew more about Raiders in terms of behind the scenes. I'd read the novelization. I'd read through the 3rd draft of the script. I'd read through the Derek Taylor making of book. I'd watched all the documentaries. So that was just more in my sort of sphere of knowledge, if you like. So I knew I could make a good headway into the Raiders project without having to look elsewhere. Just using the stuff that I've got in my house, and some resources online. Whereas Jaws was going to be the kind of slightly more unknown end of things. So I decided to tackle Raiders first for that reason.
You plan on doing, I know you're not completed yet, but you plan on doing the next 2?
The 2 Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Nobody talks about the 4th one.
What 4th one?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think there's as much material out there on Temple of Doom, but then that was kind of my excuse for not doing Raiders initially. But as you've probably seen on my blog and on Twitter, I've started to create my own material now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not a good enough reason. The other difficulty with Temple of Doom as well is a title. I haven't come up with a title yet. I mean, templing the Doom. What do you call it? It's
Can you
difficult.
believe it that I've seen that movie 200 times?
Really? Do you know, when I saw it as a kid, the first time I saw it, I think we even had a dodgy pirate VHS of the movie shortly after I'd seen it in the cinema, and I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I watched it again and again and again with my sister. We just watched it over and over. And it wasn't until I was a lot older that I realised quite how dark it is, and what a different direction Lucas went in with that one. You know, the man was going through a divorce. It's no wonder, really.
Yeah, he's mentioned that many times. I remember that I wasn't even allowed to see it in the theaters. I didn't see it like you till it came out on VHS. Is when I first saw Temple of Doom.
Right, yeah. No, it is one of those films you can watch again and again. It's probably one of the ones I've watched less in the last 10, 15 years, but it's certainly one that I'd like to revisit. And, you know, I would like to find out a bit more about the production of it, because it kind of interests me, charting kind of Lucas's and Spielberg's, you know, path or journey, as people will now say on TV, through these films. Because, you know, for Raiders, Lucas was really on top of his game. He had the money from Empire Strikes Back, and Spielberg was there to prove a point and to prove that he could bring in a film under budget and within time, because he'd gone over on his last 2, you know, and 1942 had been a flop, so, you know, he had something to prove there.
Yeah, we're talking to Jamie Benning. He is the director of the Filmumentary, Raiding the Lost Ark. Obvious what it's about.
Hey, out of all...
Sorry, I was just going to say I called it 1942. I meant 1941, didn't I?
Yeah.
The Spielberg film that flopped. Carry on.
Out of all the Indiana Jones trilogies, which is your favorite movie?
Raiders, I think, is my favourite. I think because it's got that kind of that freshness, even though it was, you know, harking back to all those serials and things that Spielberg and Lucas grew up with. I wasn't really aware of those, and I've had to go back and watch those. So it's introduced me to those, you know, in a backwards kind of way. But it's the film that I enjoy the most. I think Karen Allen is the best indie female out of the 3, and it's just a film that I enjoy immensely. And I've got a real passion for these kinds of films that have got a real tangible, visceral nature to them. So they went to real sets, and there were real people doing the stunts, and the special effects were all physical, and that's something I find very interesting and very attractive. So I guess all three of the indie films kind of have that, but I think Raiders is probably my favourite. Having said that, I've probably watched The Last Crusade more times. I think that was just a bit more family friendly when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and we would watch it more. I remember watching Raiders about the age of 25 and sitting down with my mum and watching it, and we'd not seen it for a number of years, and I was really surprised how violent it was. Indy just goes around essentially murdering people throughout the movie. But, it's done in such a way that it can be enjoyed by, so many different people. And I remember maybe 10, 15 years ago lending the VHSs to my grandmother to watch, and her coming back to me and saying how she'd enjoyed it, into her 70s. So.
Yeah, I would say out of all the three, four, but out of all the four, my favorite has always been The Last Crusade for whatever reason. I mean, probably... I think I know why. Because when Last Crusade came out, my dad had just passed away. I think it had been 3-4 years, and that's what really made the connection with me. So ever since then, Last Crusade has always held a special place for me.
Plus, it had Sean Connery too. So I mean, that was just a bonus.
Yeah, and Spielberg has actually said in the press yesterday in the Independent newspaper in the UK that Last Crusade is his favourite indie movie as well.
Did he say why?
He said something about... I only saw a very small snippet because it was shown on other news sites, and he said something like he hasn't really made a film that he's enjoyed as much as Raiders because he enjoyed the process of watching it. But I think he said he enjoyed The Last Crusade the most just because everything seemed to come together. And I think at the time casting Sean Connery as Indy's father was kind of a leap of imagination for a lot of people. I think it was almost not necessarily a risky move, but an unexpected move. And I think he takes some delight in knowing that all gelled together very nicely.
But how perfect is that? I mean, who else could be Indy's dad but 007?
Absolutely, but he wasn't really playing that kind of character, was he? In a way, he was a bit of a bumbling guy, but then I guess he saves the day in the end. But no, it's a fantastic film, that, and in a way, I'd almost like to leapfrog over Temple of Doom and tackle The Last Crusade. But if I am going to do another Indiana Jones, it would be Temple of Doom. But I think I might head off to something like Back to the Future or Jaws or maybe even Blade Runner. But then again, Blade Runner's Blu-ray, I don't know if you've ever watched it. I think there's a day's worth of extras on there.
Yeah.
It would not be a matter of trying to find things to put in it. It'd be a matter of finding things to take out.
Another movie I would suggest from the 80s also is The Goonies, is another one that we love.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much behind-the-scenes material there is for The Goonies, but that's another film that's recently been on my radar because my kids are now 6 and 3, and they're getting into the realm of, wanting to look on my DVD shelf and want to know what films are about. And I put the first 10 minutes of The Goonies on just to remind myself to see if it was, suitable for them. Yeah. It's not yet is the answer. But no, that would be quite a good one to tackle, actually.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Blade Runner the last time we had you on also, and you mentioned Jaws. Goonies is another one. Back to the Future.
It's a great one.
That's Romo's favorite over here.
Mm-hmm.
What else is another 80s movie?
You know what, E.T. maybe? I was thinking E.T.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because that was a real turning point for Spielberg, in terms of creating the kind of perfect family movie, wasn't it? I mean, that was very, very family-friendly movie. I remember seeing that as a kid, and being quite upset at the end. And I couldn't work out at the time whether I was upset because E.T. had gone home or whether it was because he was a little bit scary. I was kind of upset and scared at the same time.
Yeah. So again, we're talking to Jamie Benny. He's a director of the Filmumentary, Raiding the Lost Ark. It's up in our links section. You can check it on his Vimeo page, on his blog page. It's all our links are up on there for that if you haven't seen it yet. Not completed yet, but very soon. There are 4 parts up there, and pretty soon coming. The rest of it is coming, right, Jamie?
Yeah, it should be between 2 2 and say 5 or 6 weeks. The reason I'm kind of delaying it, actually, this week is the first time I've rendered the whole video from the editing timeline and watched it in one sitting, because I've been sort of working on sections and developing those and moving on to another section. And it's been a while since I've watched it in one long piece. So I put it on my laptop, hooked it up to my 40-inch telly, and sat there and watched it through. And I had 4 or 5 pages of notes to work through, little alterations to do, which I've now done. But I'm just getting a few leads at the moment that could lead to something quite nice. Like I've recently been contacted by a guy called Ed Vereux. It's spelled Verreaux. He was a storyboard illustrator and a production illustrator on the film. And he wants to talk, but the email I got back from him said I would love to help you with your project. It sounds like fun, but I always clear such requests with Stephen or Kathy first before going ahead.
Yeah,
I'm awaiting a response, and I'll get one as soon as I get one. I'll let you know, Ed. So that made me, kind of feel my trousers at that moment, because all of these things I do are unofficial, and essentially, I'm in a dodgy copyright area.
Yeah, you mentioned that actually last time with George Lucas. Now that you know for sure that Steven's going to know about this, you think he may contact you about this?
You never know. I mean, look at those guys who remade Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they were kids, and he kind of contacted them and told them how much he enjoyed it. And, Raiders is one of those films he said that he can actually sit down and watch and enjoy, without thinking about the process, and just enjoy it for what it is. So maybe he's got enough affection for this film that, which I share as well, that he might see something good out of what I can do. And, ultimately, as I've said before, I don't think it's doing the franchise any harm. I make a point of saying that I make no money. I mean, I just spend my money buying all this material, and I don't, it's my hobby, essentially. Some people smoke, some people drink lots, some people go out and enjoy themselves. I go out and enjoy myself, but I don't smoke, and I don't drink a great deal, so this is where my money goes. It's down to me, and I don't think that they can have a big issue about that. And on my website, I advertise to buy the DVDs and all that kind of thing. I'm encouraging people to do it, and I've been contacted probably by dozens of people who are kind of my age, mid-30s, who enjoyed my Star Wars filmumentaries to the point where they've now gone and bought them on DVD or Blu-ray, and they've made that point when giving me feedback. So I think if I can do that, then that's great.
Well, all I can say is, if you do hear from Steven, make sure you mention this show, and so we can get him on with us.
Done.
No, I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, though.
Thank you. Well, it was a difficult one, because I was aware, as I said, that there wasn't going to be that much material. I was actually surprised about how much there was out there. There were a couple of the official making-ofs, and a few different snippets appeared on different news programs, and some of the big indie collectors have come forward and given me little tidbits as well. And I've had one of the guys on Twitter, Marky242, has been really great, because he goes around collecting autographs at these conventions in the UK, and we have some quite good guests over here. It's not really my scene, and I'm often working at weekends because I work in television, as you know. Yeah. So he's been out and about, kind of promoting my stuff a little bit for me, handing out business cards and postcards, and picking up contact details of people. Like, he got me in touch with Wolf Kahler, who played Colonel Dietrich in Raiders, and he lives in London, just in North London. So I went up and met him in a coffee shop and chatted with him for 3 hours, which was fantastic. He's a very impressive character. He's a big guy, and he's got that kind of booming Germanic voice, and he was kind of a bit reluctant to talk initially, because he thought his experiences weren't of interest. At one point, he says about how he didn't get any stomach problems in Tunisia like the rest of the crew, and in a way that's that's quite sad because he doesn't get to talk about all these wonderful stories. But how brilliantly German to eat sensibly and make sure you know what you're putting in your mouth before eating something and not suffering from that. So it's got its own kind of humor anyway. And he's just a really nice guy. And he talked further about Spielberg and Lucas and how they worked together and how much he enjoyed working with Mickey Moore, who was the director that directed the chase sequence in Raiders, and how it felt like a different production, and just really nice little insights, And when I turned the microphone off, he was a little bit more candid about things as well, which is things I'll take to the grave. That I've promised, but really nice guy, and I'm still in contact with him now. I sent him a photo the other day that I found a guy from the Facebook group, the Raiding the Lost Ark Facebook group, sent me of Wolf's face cast for the sequence at the end, and he'd never seen the actual cast because he went in, had his face cast, and then left. And he didn't actually see it, being cured and everything. So he was quite happy to see that, and he wished me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year this year. And it's nice to stay in contact with him. So
yeah, it sounds like it, but has it been easier to find more behind the scenes stuff on Raiders than it was for Star Wars?
I don't know really. I mean, I'm getting better at doing it. I think partly, and also because I've had the coverage that I've had with Star Wars Begins. I think more people are willing to come forward. Also, there are more people willing to slag me off now, and have a go about it. But that that sort of comes with the territory, really. When you put something out there in the public domain, somebody's always going to take a dig here and there. But people have been really kind in coming forward with more material, and I've enjoyed the process more of searching for material, I think, because with Star Wars, there was already so much in my head, whereas with this, I've had to go out there and seek out my own stuff. And just being able to talk to people firsthand, like Wolf, Carla, and like Brian Muir, the sculptor, who I went round his flat. Again, he lives just sort of west of London. Went round his flat and sat there with him and his wife for 3 or 4 hours and just chatted about the industry and all the people they knew in it, and who he's been working with recently, and how he's just worked on the new Sherlock Holmes film. He's just been involved. Brian Muir's just been involved in some amazing productions, and he's just been so forthcoming. And so, in some ways, it's been easier, and in other ways, it's been more difficult. It's just been enjoyable, and it's as I said, it's a hobby, so it's something I really enjoy, and I don't let it encroach too much on my personal life. But it's there's always an inevitability with hobbies that you're into to that extent.
Yeah, great stuff. I actually follow you on Facebook, and if people are listening right now, go follow it, Raiding the Lost Ark, and I also follow your blog. But tell me more about your conversation with the legendary film poster artist Andrew Struzan.
Drew Struzan, yeah, his details were passed on to me by another kind member of the Facebook group who'd worked in the industry for a number of years and had met several people that had worked on Raiders, and because he was a fan, he'd kept their contact details, and he was kind enough to say that I could mention his name. And anyway, I contacted Drew Struzan, the poster artist, because I thought, with Star Wars Begins, it was all about the people that were in those four walls of the production. It wasn't about people that were outside trying to create an interpretation of that production for promotional material or whatever else. So I thought it might be an interesting perspective to get from him, because I kind of wanted to know whether he was provided with stills or illustrations, or where did he draw his inspirations from and all that kind of thing. Unfortunately, he replied. He said, Raiding the Lost Ark will be good for you, and it'll be good for us both. If I mention him in the documentary, and it's all good coverage. But he said that as far as the interview is concerned, he's just too busy, and kind of pressed on every side. So he wasn't in a position to give me the time to participate in the documentary. But he wished me well, and we had a couple of messages to and fro. I just recently got his book, which includes some really fantastic sort of conceptual ideas of all the different posters that we're so familiar with. Back to the Future and Temple of Doom and Last Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And,
he's got a couple of books now, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if the one I had was named something different in the States, because a couple of the guys on Twitter mentioned a different title. But
the one that came out first was called The Art of Juice Druzan.
Yes, that's the one I've got. Yeah. So
he's got a new one. I'm not sure what it's called, but he does have a new one. I know that much.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a fantastic talent. And I was chatting to a friend of mine I know from kind of my college days, and he's an illustrator, very talented guy, and he'd shown me some of his stuff on Facebook just today, and I said to him, do you fancy doing one for my Raiders project? I said, I'll pay you for it. And he said, no, I don't want to be paid. Let me do it. So I've been having a chat with him today, and it turns out he's a huge Drew Struzan fan. So he's going to try and do me a poster in the style of Drew Struzan, with some of the sort of concepts that the Filmumentaries kind of take on, and come up with something in the next 2 weeks. I've also got a couple of guys doing some sort of cartoon work. One's doing like a humorous cartoon, where I think my head has become the giant boulder chasing Indiana Jones, or maybe Spielberg and Lucas. I don't know. I'm yet to see it yet. There's another guy who's doing a cartoon, another guy who's doing a poster. So I'm kind of sitting back for a moment and just seeing what else can be offered up, and waiting for these guys to produce their masterpieces, because it'd be great if I could do a proper launch, and get all the posters online and use that as kind of promotional material, and get some things printed up and hand them out at conventions and whatnot.
Yeah, so you're obviously getting a lot more help also than you were with Star Wars. So if anybody out there knows anybody from the film, where should they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm on Twitter, and that's at Jamie SWB. That did stand for Star Wars Begins. You can go on filmumentaries.com. So that's FILMUMENTARIES, filmumentaries.com, or on the Raiding the Lost Ark or Star Wars Begins Facebook pages. So if anybody does know anybody out there that was involved with Raiders, or has a relative that was, I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I would struggle to fit much more in, to be honest with you. But just today, I heard from Ron Lacey's daughter. Ron Lacey played Tote in the film, the Nazi guy in the leather,
right.
And she is I didn't even realise, I had not made the connection. She's a well-known British actress, and I contacted her through her agent. And about 20 minutes later, I got an email from her saying, I understand you want to talk to me about my father's role in Raiders. Please drop me an email. It'd be great to chat. So it would be interesting to get her perspective on seeing her dad playing a villain in a film like this, and that might be a route that I go down. But I'm willing to take any offers at the moment.
Yeah, I got to say, Ron Lacey, I think he has the one of the best scenes in Raiders when he pulls out what you think is a really, really evil looking weapon. It's actually just a coat hanger. Yeah. I'm not sure have you seen that bit mentioned in Raiding yet? I can't remember if I've released that bit. I don't think I saw it on that. Did you see that one, Romo?
I don't remember.
No, so
there's a nice piece of Spielberg commentary to go with that, actually, because he talks about how he used that gag before in 1941 and it didn't work, but because you were so invested in the character of Marion, you did actually sort of, the gag worked on the audience, and there is actually a bit of a gasp in the audience at that point. So it was nice to find those two bits to put together.
Yeah. So again, we're talking to Jamie Benning, director of the new Filmumentary, Raiding the Lost Ark. Now, Romo kind of asked you already about the movies. Let me ask you about the franchises. You've done the two big ones now, Star Wars and Indy. Which one do you like better?
Star Wars has always been my thing. Having said that, Indiana Jones runs a very, very close second. To me, even though they're completely different films and different genres, really, they kind of sit side by side for me. It's difficult to pick between them, but I think Star Wars has been a bigger part of my life. I think, I'm surrounded by people in my industry of my age, mid-30s and older, some younger, that were inspired so inspired by Star Wars that it led to them, being involved in the creative industries, be it television, whether they're an editor or a producer or a graphics guy. Every so often you come across one of those guys that was just inspired to such an extent that they wanted to get involved in something like that. And most of us didn't reach that point, but this is what I'm doing with these filmumentaries is kind of an extension of that fandom. I'm making things that I want to see ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of hinted at it, but what did you think of Crystal Skull?
I was embarrassed, to be honest with you. I was in the cinema, and the first few minutes, I thought, they kind of got the feel, when they're in the warehouse and you see the Ark there, and I thought, it's kind of cute. They kind of did that on the wall. They had when they're underneath Venice in Last Crusade, you see the Ark of the Covenant there, and you hear the John Williams music, and there's a little gag there that tied in with that, and I thought, it's kind of there. It didn't look right. It looked like a really glossy TV ad to me. I kind of missed Douglas Slocum's photography on that one, and it got to the points where he's swinging through the trees with monkeys, and I just kind of put my head in my hands, and people say, well, there were silly gags in Temple of Doom, jumping out of a plane on a raft, but at least they were consistent in some way, that it was grounded in some kind of reality. This one just seemed to be like the characters were all invincible video game characters. There was no peril involved. It just didn't look real enough. Whereas when you watch, the stuntmen going under the truck in Raiders, you actually, I certainly do now. I think, blimey, those guys are really putting their lives on the line for entertainment, and therefore, when you see a real person do it, you do get caught up in the fact that the character's doing it, and there is genuine peril involved. And with Crystal Skulls, I just didn't feel that at all. It just felt like a big computer game, really.
Yeah. Plus, part of it was, like Steven said, you cared about the characters. That's why that gag worked. And with the Shia LaBeouf character, you kind of didn't really like him too much by that point in the movie.
No, I think it crossed my mind at the time that if he got pulled apart by monkeys, that would be the most enjoyable part of the movie. No, and the wedding at the end, and kind of teasing up that Shia LaBeouf could be the next Indiana Jones. I think I actually audibly said no. It just didn't sit right at all. And Spielberg has kind of admitted that he didn't really want to make the film. And I always get the impression, Lucas always said, as soon as everybody can agree on how we're going to do it, then we'll do it. I think it was, we have to wait till everybody agrees with me, me, George Lucas.
Now, speaking of, Lucas has also said he has a script or a story, at least, for the next one. We just have to get everybody together. Do you want to see an Indy 5?
Not particularly. I kind of, I am a nostalgist at heart, so I like looking back at these things. I don't really like looking forward, because potentially, as with the Star Wars prequels for me anyway, it kind of taints the original films, and it kind of detracts from them. It's taken me a long time to get over the prequels. Simon Pegg style in space, burning my Star Wars things in the garden. Yeah. I'm not that keen on seeing Indiana Jones 5. I mean, if they made it and they made it better than the Crystal Skulls, then in some way they would have redeemed themselves. But I don't think anything could really make up for the fourth one.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Romo.
Yeah, I agree. But have you ever thought of doing 007 James Bond as your future project? It just came to me right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's quite a nice idea. I mean, I grew up, my James Bond, in terms of who I grew up with watching, was Roger Moore, and I had a very different perspective of James Bond because of that. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I kind of went back to the earlier Sean Connery movies. I don't have a great knowledge of those films. I think they sort of blend into one in my head because, they had a formula and they kind of stuck to it, those films.
That's true.
Maybe Spielberg should have listened to that, or Lucas even, and stuck with Indiana Jones 4 as the kind of same recipe as the others, starting off with a prior adventure and leading on to something different, which is a James Bond, a thing they borrowed from James Bond, because obviously Spielberg, that's what he wanted to do, didn't he, initially?
They should have gone by the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Bond is a nice idea, but I think, again, a lot of this does depend on how much footage, behind-the-scenes footage there is. Otherwise, it's essentially going to be a audio commentary with a few photos,
Yeah.
And I've also become aware, making this raiding filmumentary, that people are starting to disappear now. The film is now that old that people that worked on the film are no longer with us, unfortunately.
Right.
So I think you could only go back a certain way with the Bond movies. But again, I see some sort of responsibility with this in that regard, because this may be the last time we get to talk to some of these people about these things, and about their experiences on those films. Certainly people like Wolf Carlo, who's, he's in his early 70s, he's a fit and healthy guy, but he never really got the opportunity on the official documentaries to talk about his experiences on Raiders. So hopefully Raiding the Lost Ark will bring something new to fans out there. I've been criticised in the past by several people that I'm just borrowing bits or stealing bits from other people's documentaries and editing them in a different fashion, and therefore it's nothing new. Well, it is new if it's being edited in a different way, and it's certainly new if I'm going out there and sourcing these things myself. And people are hearing these interviews for the very first time when they watch these documentaries. So there is a certain responsibility, I think, to kind of get this done and have it as a document, if you like. And what's been really fantastic is I've heard from 3 people now that are using my filmumentaries in their film studies courses, which is great. To be able to contribute something educationally is fantastic. It's something I didn't, I just thought it was going to be me and a few geeks watching these things. I didn't realise that they were going to be as far-reaching. So it's been really quite pleasant.
Yeah, we're talking to Jamie Benning, director of the new filmumentary Raiding the Lost Ark. It's up on our links page. Got the link to everything there. Let me go back before we wrap up, Jamie. Let me go back to something you said a minute ago. We actually, Romo and I and the rest of the staff here, we were talking about that while we were eating. We were eating right before we did this interview. We were, like geeks always do, talk about everything. And we realized, like you said, hey, these people aren't going to be around with us forever, because we just realized, hey, Stan Lee is going to be 90 years old at the end of at the end of this year. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy are in their 80s now. Spielberg and Harrison Ford, they're all in their 60s. So if you can do these things, it's a good thing to, there's a lot of interviews and a lot of things out there, but nothing like what you're doing. So it'd be a good idea to document the stuff and keep it out there and have it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of what I tried to do in particular with Star Wars Begins, because I got the other 2 out of the way, and what I'd learned in doing those I kind of put in to Star Wars Begins quite heavily. And I at that point I did realise there was a bigger audience for it, and that they did have some sort of significance in a way. And I'm not a man who's hugely confident about what I do, but it's been great to get all that fantastic feedback from people. And one of my very close friends said, he's not really into the films that I'm into, but he kind of watched a bit of them and said, it's great that you're making some sort of mark, and you're not from my own personal point of view, not putting my name on things, but just leaving something there for people to watch. And that's what I wanted to do. That's why I put them on YouTube and took that risk to make sure the fans could see them. And people still, to this day, how many years has it been now? 2006 I started doing these. They still think that I'm doing it for some ulterior motive, like I'm making money in the background or something. And it's quite frustrating to kind of have to justify myself again and again. But I genuinely am doing this for people like me, and I'm doing it for myself because I really enjoy it, and I'm not doing it to become infamous or internet famous or whatever. I'm just willing to put it out there and hear from people and discuss things and just enjoy these wonderful films.
Yeah, well, I got to say, with Star Wars Begins and with this one also, especially with what you have so far, as you guys say on your side of the pond, brilliant, both of them.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
No problem. It's Jamie Bennett again. You've heard him before on the show. He has a new Filmumentary called Raiding the Lost Ark, obviously about Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can check it out in our links section. Jamie, thanks a lot for coming on. When you are completely done with it, you're more than welcome to come back on and talk some more, because we love talking about this stuff anyway.
That would be great. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
Okay, and continued success, and we will talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, see you.
The Geek Speak Show will be right back.
The Geek Speak Show is conducting a search for the missing element. The Geek Girl's voice. Do you know the difference between Kim Kardashian and a Cardassian? Do you know that Han shot first? Can you explain Inception? Walter or Walternate? Grimm or Fringe? Use these and other amazing facts in discussions with the boys and especially with all the awesome guests on the Geek Speak Show.
All you've got to do is send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page, or send us an MP3 where you explain why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. It'd be great if you're here in the San Francisco Bay Area so we can have you in studio, but we can Skype it if you're not. So if you're a Geek Girl, or if you know one, and you're ready to show your knowledge to the world, send an email to geekgirl@thegeekspeakshow.com with a link to your YouTube page or an MP3 telling us why you should be our Geek Girl co-host. We hope to have our Geek Girl co-host in place by March, just in time for WonderCon 2012.
The Geek Speak Show Geek Out. Powered by Collider.com, RamaScreen.com, and GeekTyrant.com.
Last week, we finished by telling you that WonderCon 2012 passes are on sale, so this week we'll start with San Diego Comic-Con 2012. Pre-registration for registration is now open at ComicCon.org. What that means is that you'll have to register for Comic-Con. Pre-registering does not, however, admit you to Comic-Con, and just because you pre-register doesn't mean you'll be able to get a pass when they do go on sale. Get all the info at ComicCon.org. Now that Alan Taylor is signed to direct Thor 2, Marvel has hired Robert Rodat to rewrite the script. Rodat was the screenwriter for Saving Private Ryan and The Patriot, and most recently on TNT's Falling Skies. The Riddick sequel has added a couple of actors to its roster. First, Katie Sackhoff will play a Nordic mercenary who is tracking Riddick, and, after being considered for the Star Trek sequel, Jodie Moya has signed on to play the main villain. Riddick will be a direct sequel to Pitch Black and to cover more plot points from that film rather than the Chronicles of Riddick. Paramount, Universal, and Disney will be running ads for their major releases during the Super Bowl. No confirmation from them yet, but expect ads for John Carter and the Avengers from Disney. Paramount may run ads for G.I. Joe Retaliation or Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, and Titanic 3D. And Universal will probably advertise The Lorax, Snow White and the Huntsman, or Battleship. At the Brazilian premiere of Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, our DJ answered a couple of questions of interest to us geeks. First, what can we expect from Iron Man 3?
I think that we have an opportunity with the third Iron Man to make the best of the three, and maybe one of the better superhero movies that's ever been made. But I think we have to remember what made the first one good. It was very character-driven. It was very odd. It was kind of outrageous. And so I think we have to have the courage to trust that the audience is actually really kind of cool and smart.
Then he was asked about playing Geppetto and Tim Burton's idea for a live-action Pinocchio.
I want to talk to him about it, yeah. Come on, it's Tim Burton.
Speaking of which, Tim Burton has indeed expressed interest in directing the live-action version of Pinocchio for Warner Brothers. The story would be written by Brian Fuller, who created the short-lived Pushing Daisies. With Tim Burton, RDJ, and Brian Fuller on board, it may make for a weird but fun take on Pinocchio. How long do you think it'll be until Johnny Depp comes on board to play Pinocchio? Paramount and Bad Robot are teaming up for an action film. No, not another Mission Impossible. It's an untitled action film to be directed by Brad Parker and produced by J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Brian Burke. It has JJ's name attached, so you know the drill. Nothing else is known at the moment. This Friday is the return of Fringe Friday. However, will Fringe return for a 5th season? That was the question posed to Fox President of Entertainment Kevin Reilly, and he gave a refreshingly honest answer. He said that Fringe is a point of pride for Fox after letting genre fans down in the past. Firefly. He's proud of the fact that they followed the show to Fridays, but that Fringe is such an expensive show that Fox is losing money at its current rating on Fridays. Fox is not in the business of losing money, so they'll sit with the Fringe creative team soon and decide what to do. Doesn't sound very good for Fringe, does it?
The Geek Speak Show Geek Out is powered by Collider.com, Ramascreen.com, and GeekTyrant.com. Just like a lot of people, we've dropped the radio. This is now the Geek Speak Show.
It is the Geek Speak Show. Way to end on some bad news there for Fringe, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of sad about that right now.
Yeah, because I got to be honest with you, and you know this. We work in the same business. Like Kevin Riley said from Fox, we're not in the business of not making money. We're not anybody in business. You're not in business to lose money.
No, you're not.
So he may not have straight out said it. We're going to cancel it, but I think that's what it means.
Yeah, and that's where I'm not pleased. I mean, that's where I only can blame the fact that they moved to Friday and should have kept the show on Thursday. Everything was like you said. Why fix it if it's not broken?
I gotta say, I do find him refreshing though that he's so honest.
That's good. Yeah,
and he doesn't give you the
PR
management PC talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great show. It's a fantastic show, and yeah, we're really pleased with it. No, he says, we're losing money on it. I don't really have an answer. Don't know what we're gonna do with it. And he is.
I mean, is it late for us fans? I mean, to get new fans to watch.
I mean, he acknowledges the fact that Fox have messed up before on genre shows. Firefly, and I like that. I like the fact that he knows that we followed it to Friday.
Yeah,
but he also acknowledges the fact that you're here, but not enough of you are here.
Damn.
So I guess that will be it. Joshua Jackson has said in some interviews that at the beginning of season 4, the writers, they're writing this season as if it was the end. So it will have a definite end. And if they do bring it back for a 5th, they also leave a little opening for it to come back if they have to. But they are writing it with the end in mind.
Damn, that's not good news, though, because for me, I'm like, what am I going to do on Friday now?
I don't know. But there is Terra Nova. You can jump on.
Yeah, but it's not Fringe, though. It's like, I mean, there is Grimm, but it's not Fringe.
Well, you have Alcatraz.
Oh, that's a new show. Yeah, that's going to be coming up this week as we speak.
Yeah, well, I think it premiered, actually. Yeah, it's going to premiere. When did it premiere? Monday. Feels like it's been forever now. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll give it a chance.
We will.
Yeah, I think it was you who said a pilot is supposed to grab you.
It is.
Sorta.
You know what pilot grabbed me was Misfits.
You've been talking about this whole show. Okay, go ahead. What is this Misfits?
Misfits, I mean, they're already on season 3. It started off way back in 2009. It's a UK show, and it is a superhero. It's kids that are, that are misfits, that serve community services, and it's like they got
Chronicle.
Yeah, and they got superpowers because of the storm, and as the series goes, you find out that they're trying to protect it, but at the same time, they find out that there's more people with the powers that the storm created, so they have more superpowers.
Stop right there.
What?
You just described the problem with Heroes.
It's better than Heroes. I know, but it's way better than Heroes.
The problem with Heroes was that in the beginning it was okay, then all of a sudden everybody had powers.
No, but they kill these people that had powers, and it's like that's what Heroes was missing. That's what that's what Heroes was missing.
I just said so did Siler.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, they killed the cheerleader. Yeah, let's just say that they killed the cheerleader
and saved the world.
No, but it's a great show. Like, if you liked Attack the Block, you're going to love Misfits. They're already going on season 3.
Is it raining golems?
What?
Is it raining golems?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you mean by that?
Keep going.
All right, I don't know. But
you blockheads know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. I guess I'm not a blockhead.
You like Attack the Block, but I love Attack the Block. Attack the Block fans are called blockheads. So that's what I said. All you blockheads know exactly what we're talking about. Go ahead, Romo.
Actually, I didn't like Attack the Block. It was all right, but it wasn't as good as you were saying. But Misfits...
No, it was better.
All right. Well, Misfits is like Attack the Block. Same kind of characters. It's very... just in your face. Expect not... It's a mature audience, so you have to expect profanity, explicit language, and I mean, who doesn't like great acting and great? I mean, let's just say it's fun. It's a fun TV show. It centers around 4 or 5 kids that has superpowers, and it's fun. It's great. You got to watch it.
Well, you sold me. So another story that we just heard that is not bothering me is just I'm wondering how this is really going to work out. Obviously, it's something new that they're trying out. Producer Damon, looking at you, we got to get David Glanzer on. Pre-registration for Comic-Con 2012 is going on right now as we speak. Go on there. Don't crash the servers like you guys did last year. If you remember that they had to like restart 3, 4, 5, 6 times because the initial day that passes were open, all you guys went on there, you crashed the servers.
Yeah, they did.
I think, unless I'm mistaken, and again, I want to talk to David Glanzer about this. I think what they're trying to do this time around is try to limit the passes to us, to the real hardcore geeks. Because as you know, I know, I think we mentioned it last week with Rachel when she was on. Everybody wants to be part of Comic-Con. Everybody wants to be the cool geek now. But doesn't mean you actually are a geek. Yes, we're going to use the geek cred word. There it is, geek cred. You do need to have some to register for Comic-Con. It means that only those of you who listen to this show, who follow certain blogs, certain websites, know that pre-registration is going on right now. Most of you are assuming that around March, somewhere around there, you're gonna be able to get your passes. Probably not, because you got to register. Unless I have it wrong, you have to register to be able to register.
Yeah.
When you go register, when these things go on sale, you have to give in your member ID number that you get when you do register, which is free, by the way. Don't think you have to pay anything. But when you get that number, keep it with you. Don't share it.
Don't.
Kind of like treat it as if it was your bank card PIN. Don't share it with anybody because that's your number. That's your social security number to go to Comic-Con. So whoever does have one, I'm not sure how it's gonna work. You got to get David and have him explain it to us. But what it sounds like it's gonna be is that you're gonna get that member ID the day that they go on sale. You log in, and if you're lucky enough to get one of those numbers, maybe you'll be able to register. If not, sorry, out of luck.
You mean sorry because the whole server crashed?
No, sorry, because you're not going to be able to get passes for Comic-Con. There's always next year, 2013.
Well, there's always WonderCon. Hey.
Yeah, those are on sale as we speak also. But we got to get David Glanzer on to get in to explain all that stuff. Doesn't sound too confusing, but we just want to get it clear. That's all.
Yeah, it's true.
Marvel, they have Alan Taylor from Game of Thrones directing Thor 2. Now they have Robert Rodat rewriting the script, I should say, for
really
Thor
good.
2. He did, as we mentioned in the Geek Out, he did Saving Private Ryan and also The Patriot, but he also wrote Falling Skies, which I have said many times was just too slow. Now, I don't want that from Thor 2.
No, it's not going to be slow, but I mean, what can we expect? It's going to be kicking ass, that's for sure.
Hopefully a lot of Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Flying, and then 3D maybe, but I just want Mjolnir flying through the air. Because you got to admit, in Thor 2, that was one of the best sequences when they go to the Frost Giants and fight them when it's the younger, brash Thor. And he's just throwing Mjolnir all over the place. That's what we want to see. That's the mighty Thor.
Yeah.
The new Thor we're going to see in the Avengers, we'll like him too, but you got to admit that was one of the best scenes in the movie, in Thor.
It was, yeah.
So hopefully we'll see a lot of that.
Especially when he fought the Destroyer. That was sick.
Yeah, not a lot of character development, because we know the characters already. Just get into the action.
I just hope Natalie Portman's not in the new Thor 2.
Well, you didn't even know she was in this one. She did so little that she could have not been in, and you wouldn't have realized that. Riddick sequel, finally. I've always liked Pitch Black.
Not
Chronicles
me.
of Riddick, it was okay, but I've always loved Pitch Black. I like the Riddick character, so I really am looking forward to this one.
What year did they set that one out for?
This one probably next year, if not by the end of this year.
That's good.
Vin
Diesel?
Yeah. Oh, this is the one I wanted to talk to you about.
It's what?
Tim Burton and RDJ teaming up for Pinocchio.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I was expecting to happen. I mean, they've been going on this fairy tale land movie making for a while, so I was just kind of expecting Pinocchio to be in a live action role.
Well, it's Tim Burton. I'm still expecting Johnny Depp to be Pinocchio. Cast any day, we'll get the announcement. Oh, Johnny Depp as Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Because, with Tim Burton, you've got to have Johnny Depp.
He always uses him, though. That's kind of like his to-go man.
Yeah, but it works. Look at Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Sorry.
You were the only one, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, no, me too. I didn't like it either. So Paramount and Bad Robot, after the phenomenal Ghost Protocol, are teaming up again for another, as of yet untitled, action movie. What I like about this one, it has JJ's name attached.
Yeah.
So that's all we know right now.
Yeah.
That's JJ's way. So that's what's going on in the Geek Out. Anything else that you've seen?
You know
besides
what?
Your Misfits?
I'm just going to watch Misfits again.
Okay, so there you go.
It's all on Hulu, guys. Go, it's free.
You guys want to comment any of these stories, go ahead and send us an email either to Romo at thegeekspeakshow.com, or me, Henry, at thegeekspeakshow.com.
Yeah, tell me what you like about Misfits. We can have a good conversation about it.
I especially want to hear from all of you on what you think that means. Is it a veiled, it's canceled on Fringe? Or do you really expect for them to bring it back again for a 5th season?
Yeah, we got to have someone from there.
Let us know on that.
Show.
And again, if you do get any good ones, we'll share them with you the following week. We didn't get any this week, so didn't share them with you. But go ahead and send them on there. Or when we post it up on the YouTube, you can just post on the comment section below, and we will read your comments on the air.
Sounds good.
So let's take a break, come back, and you got your iPad back, I see.
I got it.
I guess you used the double blade and beat Damien?
Of course. It's the only way to use it.
Okay. So, you know what your book selection is. Let's do that in just a few seconds. Don't go anywhere.
The Geek Speak Show will be back in a moment.
These long tails.
Now you have another way to promote your geek product besides conventions. The Geek Speak Show. The Geek Speak Show has a loyal following that is just waiting for a new app for their smartphone, the most awesomest t-shirt to show off their geek pride, or
insert your product here.
Advertise on the show or on the Geek Speak website, or on both, and you're guaranteed to reach the same audience you'd reach at your favorite con. Interested? Send an email to ads@thegeekspeakshow.com for more information and ad rates. Movie and TV studios, comic book artists and publishers and actors know to come on the Geek Speak Show to promote their projects. Isn't it time you used a show to promote your product? Send an email to ads@thegeekspeakshow.com.
And now here's the Geek Speak Show Book Club. Here's Henry and Romo.
And Romo's iPad also. Welcome back to the Geek Speak Show. Time for the book selection. All right, you go first since you made such a big deal about it. Go ahead.
I found this book. Kind of liking it. It's a sci-fi book, but it's Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card.
Wait. You picked Ender's Game?
Yeah.
And you're kind of liking it?
No, it's sci-fi. I've been 2 pages in. I'm really just started to read the book, but it's
so
something.
You saw the cover, the title. That's all you've seen.
Yeah. Let's just say I can't stop reading it.
Okay.
He can't put it down.
He can't start reading it. He can't put it down.
Yeah. It's Ender's Game. My brother told me about it. Always been telling me about it. And now I finally had the chance to read it.
I don't know what's more scarier.
Is what?
That you're actually going to read all of Ender's Game nonstop, or that there's more than one Romo out there.
Or that it took me too long just to find out about this book. Because I knew it was from the 80s. So it's like, it's a cool classic, though. How could he not want to read it?
I've read it many times.
Oh, well, then we'll have a good discussion about it. What do you think about it?
See, but with
you
you
can't tell me the ending then.
No, with you,
what?
You'll love this because the movie's coming soon.
Ah, yes, perfect. Just like The Hobbit. Yeah.
This generation. Rather see the movie than... I still know people who have just started reading the Harry Potter books because they decided to watch the whole movie series, and now they're just getting into the books.
Yeah, that's a good discussion. You know what? I'm have to admit, I started to do that with Lord of the Rings.
You've never read Lord of the Rings?
I have. I read the first 2, but never the third one because I lost the book, and then I had to owe the library so much money that I ended up just not reading it and watching it.
So that's why you never went to the library. Now they know where you are. All right, so that's Romo's book, a classic, obviously. We're just having fun here, but it is a classic. Ender's Game. You'll love it. That's all I'll say. I won't spoil it for you.
All right, good.
Now mine, I've seen this book before. You remember I've chosen The Last Apprentice books before.
Uh-huh.
when I was getting those, I used to see this book, and it's a series of books also, and I avoided it only because it also has the word apprentice in it. So it was called The Ranger's Apprentice. And finally I said, you know what the hey? It's not. There's nothing else to read right now, and nothing really new coming out.
Nothing to watch on TV either.
So I got it, but it just happened, coincidence. Just like The Last Apprentice, I started with the second book because I didn't have the first one in the series, so I'll have to go back and do that one now.
That's what happened with me in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so the one I got was The Ranger's Apprentice is what it's called. Book number 2, The Burning Bridge by John Flanagan. Doesn't deal with magic. They're not magic users. They don't fight the dark and like that. I'm in the middle of it also. I'm almost done. So like you, I can't really say how much I'm enjoying it, but I can't say I love it like I do the Last Apprentice. The Last Apprentice, I can't wait for the one that comes out this year. I believe it's the second to last one, but I can't wait for that one. This one, it's more, the feel I get when I'm reading it is more like a cross between Robin Hood and Dungeons and Dragons.
That's cool.
What it's like. Again, they're not magic users. They use I forget what it's called.
But is it set in that time?
Yeah, medieval times is what it is. It's a whole series, obviously. So if I like this one, I'll go back and read the first one and go on from there. But so far, I'm enjoying it. Not loving it yet, but enjoying it, and that's my pick. Again, it's called The Ranger's Apprentice, book number 2. I don't know why I start with second books. It's all they have in the library. This one's called The Burning Bridge by John Flanagan. So those are our picks: Ender's Game and The Burning Bridge. So let's take a break, come back. I think David Lee's getting ready to do his comics commentary. Then we'll come on back, finish the show because my mouth's getting tired.
The Geek Speak Show will be back in a moment.
Now you have another way to promote your geek product besides conventions. The Geek Speak Show. The Geek Speak Show has a loyal following that is just waiting for a new app for their smartphone, the most awesomest t-shirt to show off their geek pride, or
insert your product here.
Advertise on the show or on the Geek Speak website or on both. And you're guaranteed to reach the same audience you'd reach at your favorite con. Interested? Send an email to ads@thegeekspeakshow.com for more information and ad rates. Movie and TV studios, comic book artists and publishers and actors know to come on the Geek Speak Show to promote their projects. Isn't it time you used a show to promote your product? Send an email to ads@thegeekspeakshow.com.
People who get it, get it. This is now the Geek Speak Show.
Please make a note of it.
And bookmark it and everything else. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, subscribe on iTunes.
Stalk us.
No, don't do that.
Why not?
Because I'm pretty handy with the double-bladed lightsaber. Welcome back to the Geek Speak Show. I'm Henry. He's Romo, finishing up for this week. Very good show. Thanks again to Jamie Benning for coming on and telling us all about rating the Lost Ark. Believe it or not, he's not done yet. He's still got a lot more to add. And when he does, we'll have him back and talk some more Raiders and just geek out about
it was a lot of fun.
Thanks also to the... what's the name again? Children's Creativity Museum. I'm still not used to the new name.
Me neither.
We pass by it all the time by downtown San Francisco. The signage is there, but I'm just used to seeing the old Zeum sign on there. But I'll get used to this the same way I got used to Zeum. See, now I call it Zoom. The Zeum. I'll get used to this one too. But thanks again to Ben Grossman-Kahn, Education and Innovation Manager, the Innovation Lab. Go to our link section. It's all on there. If you, or the big kid in you, wants to go and test some upcoming apps or games. And Andy Russell, one of the co-founder of Launchpad Toys, one of the people collaborating, the company's collaborating with them. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And talking to us about that. No, I'm not David Lee. Neither is Romo. David Lee, he actually has a headache.
That's typical. He's MIA.
Told him not to go out and party and get drunk, but...
He plays too many video games and reads too many comic books.
Oh yeah, that's the headache. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's the headache.
So we'll get him next week, maybe. So that's it. We're done for this week.
Sounds good.
Next week, what will we do?
Play more video games, watch more TV, read more comic books.
That, or we'll just come back and speak geek to you. Bye.
Yeah.
Say bye, Romo.
See ya.
That's it for this week. Come back next week for an all-new episode of the Geek Speak Show. In the meantime, follow them on Twitter, find them on Facebook, subscribe in iTunes, and listen to past shows and special features on the Geek Speak Show YouTube page. YouTube.com/GeekSpeakVideos. We'll see you next week. Tell your friends about the Geek Speak Show.